Good Erev Yontif, everyone. Thank you for joining. I want to share a very provocative idea that's actually rooted in some traditional Jewish sources. And it's something I've been preaching in different ways throughout the past few weeks. It's not going to be verbatim of any of the sermons that I've preached. It'll be more or less a extemporaneous expression of this idea, which has been imperfect in each one, and it'll be imperfect here. But the very provocative idea that I want to share that upset some people that heard it, various places where I preached at various venues, is that heaven and hell are the same place. It seems very strange to say. You would think there's nothing more opposite than heaven and hell. Now, we're not going to get into all the details of heaven and hell, actually, geographic locations, things like that. All that stuff is really silly to even talk about. Obviously, there's states of being, whether you want to call them states of mind, states of the soul. It's all one afterlife. And it's really could be this life as well. It's not really so much of an issue of this life or the next life. It's really all one. It's just what kind of existence do we have after this life. But in Torah we don't really have the expressions of the afterlife so much. It's hinted to here and there. It's not openly stated. But simple logic would dictate when it comes to heaven and hell, afterlife, is that if the Torah tells us that there is reward and punishment, which the Torah plainly states in Deuteronomy and other places, that there are consequences for our actions, and we're rewarded for doing the right things and punished for the wrong things. So the simple, obvious answer would be that means that since we don't always see that here on earth, justice must be meted out somewhere, and that somewhere would seem to be some point after this life, whether it means in the form of reincarnation, resurrection, or a spiritual existence, or a combination of two or three or all three of those concepts. It's not exactly clear. There are different discussions all throughout Kabbalistic and other traditional Jewish literature. But this concept that heaven and hell are actually the same place, the idea originates in a medrash that I've heard many times, but I never heard the source for it, if anybody knows it. I mean, if I actually prepared for these things instead of just talking, I would have gone and done the research, but I didn't. But the medrash says, what I've heard, the way I've heard it taught, is the following parable about heaven and hell. Is that essentially, you can picture the afterlife as being these two very long tables, or one long table with people sitting on each side, and people are held like in stocks, like they used to punish people in colonial times, and they're held up in stocks so they can't feed themselves. There's this delicious food in front of them, and they're given these very long forks, and they cannot, and the forks are so long that they don't reach their own mouth. And so they can't feed themselves, but they can feed the guy in front of them. And the difference between heaven and hell is, in hell, everyone's trying to feed themselves and ignoring the person in front of them. And so everyone's starving. And in heaven, everyone is feeding the person in front of them, and the person in front of them is feeding them. And so everyone is satisfied. That's one aspect of it. Today's the yard site of my Zayda, Reb Baruch ben Yitzchak, who was a man who was totally altruistic in so many aspects of his life. You know, he would go out of his way to help people constantly. His last words were, you know, who's going to drive Morris to the airport? That's all he cared about was other people. You know, because he was supposed to drive Morris to the airport, and who's going to drive him now? He's not there. He felt a responsibility. You know, he would go to Minyan every day, mostly because he felt like if he wasn't there and there wasn't a Minyan, there was only 9 because he wasn't there, he felt personally responsible for it. This was my Zayda. What's this idea, Schus Yigin Leinu? I heard from the Satmar Rebbe from Monroe's Opens Inside. It was before he was Rebbe. Beautiful pshat. He said when he was the title he had was that he was the roof there. He was the chief rabbi, now he's the grand rabbi. He's Rabbi Aaron Teitelbaum. He said it was on the yard side of his great uncle, the old Satmar Rav. So what's this? It sounds strange for us as Jews to say that the merit of a saint should protect us. Like, why would we talk like that? And so the answer is that, you know, we're taught that in the next world we get to do the same mitzvahs we're doing here on earth. And so therefore, when we learn on earth, we learn Torah, our reward in heaven is to learn in heaven on a higher level. We daven, we pray here on earth, our reward is to pray to God in heaven, to praise God, and so forth, all the mitzvahs. What about chesed, to charity, kindness, acts of kindness we do for others? How can we, if everybody has everything they need in heaven, there's nothing for us to help others with? And so I think he said it, I don't remember who he quoted saying this, but he said that essentially, maybe it's his own Chiddush, I don't know, it's a beautiful, beautiful idea, is that the people who did the kindness here on earth, their reward in heaven is that God does kindness to those who have some connection to them here on earth. That they're able to still give something to those of us who are still here. I mean, I know Mendel Ribbenhofer, he always said that that's the Indian to light candles in memory of a tzaddik, and Mendel Ribbenhofer particularly was fond of asking people after they should light candles for him after he leaves this world. What a favor it is for the soul to light a candle, and that he'll give back. Again, it's not even so much that he's giving as much that God is giving in the merit of the tzaddik as a reward for what he did on earth. And so he's giving to those people who are here with him on earth, who or even years later, we have some connection. Now, we want to get back to this. So obviously, though, someone who they lived a life, a heavenly life here on earth, it's an easier transition. That's really the pain of death. In many ways, is hell. that we suffer the pain of dying, of leaving this earth, because we're connected to this earth. And we love this earth, and we don't want to leave it. And this unhealthy addiction that we have is essentially what we're here for. Now, on the other hand, so then why even live? The answer is that we're living in order to lift up this earth, that we're supposed to be here and use all these things that God gives us to serve Him. So that's the concept that we have here. So what exactly are we accomplishing? What does it mean? And I want to give a different example of what it means. I remember Rabbi Weinberger Zolgazunzai, he said like this, he said, there are people who sit there waiting for Shabbos to be over. Like, when will it be over already? Same thing, people, they like sit on, any Jewish holiday or a shul or whatever, and they're like, all right, when do we eat already, And the fact of the matter is, like, Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, we do the same things both those days. Both those days, same 5 things we don't do. But Tisha B'Av is a day in hell, and Yom Kippur is a day in heaven. Because heaven and hell are the same place. It's the same way. It's just that it's a source of pain for those of us who are earthbound, and it's a source of blessing for those of us who are heavenbound. And each of us has a little bit of both. Most people, it's a shame when people, use things of the spirit for earthbound issues. Things that we're supposed to use for God, and we use them instead for materialism. What's better is those of us who take the materialism and use them for God. And we have to find that balance. But again, Yom Kippur is an experience of what it's like in heaven, and those people who are enjoying Yom Kippur, relishing every moment, this is so great, I wish this was every day, this was all the time, they're going to be enjoying heaven. The people who are waiting and saying, when are we going to eat already, are going to be waiting for all eternity. When are we going to eat already? That's essentially the difference between heaven and hell. In another way, it's similar to the other idea, but it's different. It's like, I'm mentioning my sins today. Like, there's a TV show. It's a very inappropriate TV show, South Park, and there's an episode where there's Saddam Hussein. Many episodes he lives in hell, and he loves it there. And then one day they decide that he's enjoying hell too much. He needs to be punished. So they send him to heaven. And then they ask him, well, which religion was the true religion? They said the Mormons. So so then he's there, with these people up in heaven who are like, oh, let's bake some cookies and make some Jell-O and talk about how, make a play about how lying is wrong and things like that, or whatever. and they're miserable, and those people are happy, but Saddam Hussein, that's hell for him. That's going to make him miserable. That's going to make him depressed. He doesn't want to live like that. He wants to be in an earthly world. But the thing is that we don't get that choice. It's not like, it's not the fire, and it's not the anything. What it is, it's people being connected to this world, and in an unhealthy way. as opposed to being connected to this world in a healthy way. And that's really the difference. That's what we really have to focus on in our devotions here, and ask ourselves, what are we really accomplishing here? Why are we really here? What do we really want from the world? What are we really trying to live up to? And that's the message that I wanted to bring out in this message, is that to say such a thing, that heaven and hell are the same place, it sounds blasphemous to most people, but the truth of the matter is, it's all up to, well, how do you live? What are you going to be sitting, waiting? When will Shabbos be over? When do we eat for the rest of eternity? Or are you going to be grateful and thankful for everything, and praising God? Slimy, move! Get away from there! So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and have a wonderful, wonderful Yom Tov.